بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. وبعد, all praise due to Allah and His praise and blessings and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and his followers until the day of judgment. I bear witness that Allah is the only one worthy of worship, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his last and final messenger. Welcome to our second Friday night lights, where we every Friday try to shed some lights on different topics, and we can have a discussion with our shuyukh here and talk about, as I said, different subjects and give different perspectives maybe to some of these topics. There's a nuance to it, how to make it more practical and relevant, and hopefully you guys enjoy these events. And tonight is about friendship. Like, Ammar chose the friendship. Sheikh Ammar, why did you choose the word friendship, not brotherhood and sisterhood?
Alhamdulillah, salatu ala rasulillah. So, there are few things in life that are sweeter than friendship, and I wanted to have a discussion, especially being that we've been in a pandemic for a year and a half, and we're kind of getting out of it now and reconnecting and revisiting and re-engaging and being able to see each other again. To have a discussion on friendship, the meaning of friendship, as well as the opportunity to kind of start anew for many of us, whether that's through reconnecting with people who we lost touch with, or at the same time being able to kind of use this to be able to engage and find new communities and new circles of influence for us. And so there's so much that affects a person's life that is directly dependent on who they involve in their inner circle, or who they put around them. And so I wanted to have a fluid discussion, inshallah ta'ala, with the mashayikh and benefit from you all with regards to your experiences with this topic of friendship, as well as any general life advice you have that you can offer, inshallah.
Nice, but you didn't answer my question.
Which was?
What did
friendship?
You pick,
When you choose your friends, you don't choose your...
No, friendship, there is a difference between friendship and ukhuwa fillah. Yani, this is my brother and sister, the love for the sake of Allah, with friendship. Do you see them synonymous? Do you see them something?
I do see them as synonymous. I don't see them as
okay,
being...
so
yeah.
you used this to refer.
Yeah, I do see them as synonymous. Unless you see a difference. If you see a difference, let me know.
There's just slight difference, that's all. But because brotherhood for the sake of Allah, or brotherhood in the deen, it's kind of a given with everyone, whether you know them or not, whether you agree or not, whether you like their personality or not. There's some like basic default behaviors and attitudes towards one another. But the friend is someone that you connect with very much, and they support you, they influence you, you influence them, and you have a strong bond with them. And these bonds, they're, like I was going to comment on the idea of when they say someone is a self-made man, and someone commented saying there's no such thing. Like who can just be completely alone without any friends even friends who influenced him, or people that influenced you in one way or another. So these things really, really shape us more than anything. I'm going to try to avoid giving the cucumber and vinegar analogy.
What is that?
Oh, thank
it's
you.
Good.
Alhamdulillah. I'm glad somebody asked. So I will never stop telling this analogy. I know people get tired of it. Ma mushkila. We're all going to love
Well,
pickles.
I haven't heard it, so it's going to be new to some of us.
So I always tell people, how do you make a pickle? You take a cucumber, you put it in a solution of water, vinegar, and salt. and you leave after a while, it becomes a pickle. There's no way it'll come out something else.
Okay.
So what I tell people is your environment affects you. Your friends affect you. And there's no way I can pep talk this cucumber and tell it, I'm going to put you in this environment. Don't let it change you. Stay a cucumber. It will still become a pickle. So and I always tell this to the youth, and it's like frustrating because you have to understand your friends change you. Your friends will influence you. Even if you don't change, you are at least, let's say your friends do drugs and you don't do drugs. What are the odds? But let's just say that. You at least become sympathetic to people who use drugs. You start to argue, well, it's just an herb and it's just a plant. Herb? So.
We eat herb, we don't smoke herb.
Yeah.
Type. I guess there's a true. I just want to say that for me, there is a difference between friendship and brotherhood and loving one another for the sake of Allah. Friendship, always, I understand what Sheikh Ammar was saying, or Sheikh Kamal was trying to say, this is the big circle, brotherhood, and the smaller one is the friendship. You know, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that in the day of judgment, there will people sitting on chairs made of lights. يغبطهم الأنبياء والصديقين والصديقون والشهداء, prophets, truthful ones, Siddiq, murderers, shuhada. They will look up to those people and say, wow, look at those people who are sitting, look at her, look at him. They are in a very special place, in the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's throne in the day of judgment. People will be called in the day of judgment. Can you just imagine that? People on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will call upon them, and also it could be understood it will be called upon them in the day of judgment and in Jannah. أين المتحابون في جلال. So those who are on chair of lights are the one who love one another for the sake of Allah. And those who Allah will call upon them will be the one who loved each other for the sake of Allah. طيب أليس كل مؤمن يحب كل مؤمن في الله?
Yes.
Every mu'min love every mu'min. Like what the Sheikh said, everybody we love each other for the sake of Allah. We're all brother and sisters for the sake of Allah. You're my brother and my sister. That's right. طيب, is everybody going to be in that chair made of light? No, very few people. So that means that the word al-ukhuwa fillah, brotherhood, and loving one another for the sake of Allah is leveled. There is a big circle which is all Muslims brother to one another. But also there is a smaller circle. That means there is a closer relationship. There is more rights fulfilled between these two that made them so special to the extent that they will deserve this kind of reward that not every Muslim will receive. And maybe that's what we mean by the friendship. That if that's what we mean here, that those who are so close to one another, that their relationship is completely for the sake of Allah, to the extent that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Alayhi ijtama'a wa alayhi tafarraqa." When they gather for His sake. What that means for His sake? Yani when they gather, they speak only the thing that pleases Allah. They do together only the thing that pleases Allah. And when they leave one another, they do the same. And in other words, they are continuously doing the good, continuously influence each other to stay good. That's something, in my opinion, a little bit more than just friendship. So friendship is, for me, always was a bigger circle, not a smaller circle. And I think that's what we're talking about here, is that people who you are close to and you have a good relationship with, and if you mix that with the religious sense that we're the ukhuwa fillah, mahabba fillah, that special reward for it, where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam telling us that yani awthaq ura al-iman, that the strongest tie in iman is to love one for the sake, to love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Since I mentioned Surah al-Hadith also, I want to end with my point with this hadith. in relation to Sheikh Kamal's point, يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المرء على دين خليله فلينظر أحدكم من يخالف. I like to translate it this way. Maybe not the best in English among both of you, but this is how I translate it. You will have the same lifestyle of your friends. So be careful who you will be friend with.
Oh, I thought you were going to do Khalil, as that's what the translation was going to be.
على ديني.
Yeah, so it's
Deen
upon
is
the
a
it's normally
lifestyle.
translated as the religion of your friend, and so
No.
you translate it as,
It's not religion.
Okay.
Deen here, it means الطريقة. It means the lifestyle, the way of your friends.
I see, because the Prophet ﷺ is speaking to Muslims pretty much, so they're all going to be on the same deen.
No, the point is, watch out who you with, because you will be like them. So you will be like them in religion and in any matter, lifestyle. So if you hang around people, today somebody was offering me sweets and said, it's healthy. He said, how can sweets help? You know, kunafa and whatever it is. He said, Sheikh, that's okay.
Cooked with love.
And everybody there eating, like, you know, that's if you go with people who always like to eat outside, you will be eating lifestyle. SubhanAllah. Your friends, you will be like their lifestyle. So be very careful who you are going to be friend with, because you have the same lifestyle. If they like to stay late, you will stay late. If they like to play games, you'll play games. If they care about their weight, you'll start caring about your weight. If they care about their look and exercising and, you know, building muscle, you start building, you know, became bodybuilder. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. يقولون في العربي الصاحب ساحب.
The friend, sahib, pulls, is that what you?
Yeah, he draws you.
He
to
draws you.
Whatever.
And so your friend will draw you into whatever it is that they're doing. They say that you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around the most, the people that you spend the time with around the most. So it's the same concept that you spend time with a particular group of individuals, that you will be an average of whatever their accomplishments are, or whatever their ambition is, or whatever their skill set is, or whatever their goals are. That you will be an average of these 5 people. And so it's the same concept being reflected. Sheikh, I wanted to ask you, you've had the benefit of being able to be in the company, or to how important was friendship for you in, you know, I would say middle school, high school, these formative years of your life?
That's interesting. For me, I owe everything I am today, after the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to my friends. I was blessed with such a good friend. You know, in weekends we'll travel, you know, 5 hours of traveling to go attend the class of one of the mashayikh, for example, like Sheikh Baz rahimahullah. In summer, we'll all come together, we go travel to Sheikh Natimian and stay with him in another city. My family will travel to vacations, and my friend said, hey, let's go. So my care about seeking knowledge, reading Quran, everything I really, I am today, it was the result of the environment that I was part of. You know, we used to inspire each other, talk to one another, and encourage one another to learn. And many of my friends and many of my colleagues and the people that I know from high school and very early age today are judges, Supreme Court judges in Saudi Arabia, Imam of Haram, you know, you name it. You know, some of them also, you know, businessmen, very successful. Some of them, like, not very successful in life. But alhamdulillah, this is something definitely affected me a lot and helped me a lot to continue and to be who I am today. And I still have my friends from high school. I still have those friends who influence me. And I have some story to share in a little bit. But it's so important when you choose friends and you allow them to be too close to you, is to choose wisely. Don't open your heart to just everybody. And that's how I understand hadith النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال لا تصاحب إلا مؤمنا ولا يأكل طعامك إلا تقي. do not have a friend. If you translate that, do not have a friend except a mu'min. And the one who eats from your food, at-taqi. I just had Sheikh Kamal eating from my food that day. Just taqi.
So you followed the hadith, I think, very well. Yeah.
You know, but let's say it means everybody has to be taqi. No, the hadith talk about when the relationship reached to the level that we eat together all the time, and you are in the middle of my house, you allowed someone to come that close to you, someone of taqwa, some of iman, some of one, because that's great influence on you. And that's something that important, but also an important point is maybe you guys, if you have a point to make.
I do. I just wanted to ask Sheikh Kamal the same question. So 13, 14, 15 years old, how important were the friends that you had? Obviously, Sheikh Waleed is in Saudi Arabia. You are at that point in time where?
Yes. Just before I answer that, Sheikh Waleed, I was really hoping, since we chose this topic, that you're going to tell that story about your 3 friends and Fajr.
Oh, yeah.
So
I can share that.
I love that story. I mean, 13, 14, I don't think like my friends were that great, but they also weren't that bad. Yani, I think one of the great things for me is that...
Were you in Sudan or were you somewhere in the world?
Maybe I was in Zaire at the time. I don't remember. Probably.
Okay.
So I think one of the good things with the traveling that we used to do is that there were never any really bad people around us. Yani, so I went to American schools around the world, and nobody in this school had ever seen drugs. No one had ever committed these haram. They were all sons of diplomats or missionaries. So we didn't really have bad friends like that. And but my really good friends were in the early days in Virginia. And there was one friend in particular, and kind of like what Sheikh Waleed said, like I owe most of the positive things in my life to this man.
One particular person?
Yes, absolutely. And he was just like a year or two older than me, but he was the first one to push me to give a Jum'ah. I did not want to give a Jum'ah khutbah. He pushed me to give a Jum'ah khutbah, and pushed me to become a chaplain, at the university, pushed me to become MSA president. And every khutbah, he would be there, and he would give me a good critique after every khutbah. He would say, you looked embarrassed. You don't look people in the eye. I'm like, yes, because I am embarrassed. I don't want to give a khutbah. And he was like, no, just even if you're embarrassed, just look people in the eye. Look around. The amount of khair that came to me through him and his family, I think there's enough clues, were just tremendous. And then when he left overseas, Allah replaced him with someone else. I'll just say that. That's.
So this is I guess the question that I'm asking is, these people who were so influential on you weren't people who were quote-unquote shuyukh at the time. They're 13, 14, a year older, 2 years older than you. Yeah. Not necessarily people. They had and they felt that responsibility of being people of da'wah and people who are helping other people and guiding other people.
Absolutely.
And so it's
I had both.
You had both. So it's not necessarily something that's the job of just Sheikh Kamal or Sheikh Waleed in Clear Lake here. It's literally any 12-year-old here, 13-year-old, 14-year-old can have that effect on anybody. And in fact, you might even be more effective on the people around you in your circle than those who are much more senior to them. I had the same experience, exactly your experience. There's one particular individual. I can point to maybe 3 individuals, but one mainly who really inspired me at maybe 15, 16 to actually see Islam. I remember when I first started seeing Islam as cool. I remember that. Before that, it's cool, powerful, something that was attractive. I remember the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought into my life, and they were all super cool. Super, super cool. Super amazing. People that I actually looked up to and said, I want to be like this person. I'm 14, he's 16 or 17, and I want to be like this person. And they were very proudly, strongly Muslim. And inshallah, I'll talk about them in a little bit as well.
I'll tell you the story how we used to be when we were in high school. So one thing that we care a lot about is Salat al-Fajr and reading Quran. So we care about this a lot, besides reading books. So Salat al-Fajr, we don't have cell phones, okay? And only the phone that you call the house. And usually, at that time, they don't have even wireless phone. By the way, I didn't come from Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam time. You know, this is not like, that's not long time ago. Okay, especially for where I grew up. But usually you have one phone or in the main, you know, in the living room. That's it. You know, I still remember that. Like you guys see in the movies now. I hate any numbers that has 9 and zeros because it's too long to go. Anyway, full circle. I know some people even have no clue what I'm talking about, but that's fine. So we have this one brother. He is very heavy in sleep, and his father, no waking up for Fajr. My son has to sleep so he can go to school. No, not allowed to have alarm. So we try everything. So one time, when we reached a level that we decided to wake him up, how? With a rope. So he sleeps in his bed, and he tied his feet with a rope, and there is rope goes, he's the second floor, in Ammar, in the building, second floor. And the rope goes from his window all the way down. We have to wake up, there's 3 of us. We have to wake up early, super early, and we walk all the way to his building to make sure to pull the rope to wake him up so he can pray Fajr. Okay? And that's how we do it. Okay? And we make sure that we take turns. So I remember one day, I went, his father, I don't know how did he figure that out. So his father was so angry. So I still remember I held the rope, and I was just a little kid, you know, and it wasn't that heavy too at the time. So I'm trying to pull him, and all of a sudden I got pulled out. And I see this angry old man from the window cursing me, my father, my parents, and very bad. Oh, what you doing, ya harami? And he was so angry, and I just run. I just run the fastest, so fast away from the house. But the point, Sheikh, I still remember that. I still remember that Zelle. Like my friendship is just not empty words. It's not like on Facebook. It's not like, you know, it meant something in action. I care for him to pray Fajr. I'm willing to go all the way to his house every day and get on my way just to make sure that he wake up and he pray with us. You know, and that's what I think that Ukhuwah al-Imaniyah comes. I care about your akhir. There's no good in this friendship if I don't care about your akhir. That's why when it is lillah, it's so different than when it is for dunya.
It reminds me of a beautiful statement of Sheikh al-Albani. One time a person asked him and he said, if you love someone for the sake of Allah, should we tell them? And he said, yes, but loving for the sake of Allah has a price, and most people aren't willing to pay that price. And so then he asked the students, he said, do you know what the price of love is? And some, you know, quoted different hadith, you know, if you love someone, you love for your brother what you love for yourself. And he said that's one of the effects of love, but the price of love is different. Until someone recited Surah Al-Asr, until they said, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. They enjoin each other to truth and enjoin each other to patience. And he said that's the answer. And he said, and the meaning of that is that when I truly love someone for the sake of Allah, then I will be more constant in enjoining them for truth than their own shadow. I will always be there enjoining them to truth. Like the Shaykh is saying, that I would care about that person's akhirah. That's when you truly love someone for the sake of Allah. It's not that you tell them, you know, be authentically yourself, do you know, follow your heart, whatever. No, it's that you, because what's the price? What's the price of you telling someone something that they don't want to hear, that they're wrong or that they shouldn't do something? What's the price of that? Like, what's going to happen? I'm asking, what's going to happen? They might get upset at you. They might distance themselves from you. They might, right? Your friendship might suffer, but that's the price. And the more sincere the love is, the more willing that person is going to be to pay that price. And that's why if you ask anybody, yeah, Al-Hasan al-Basri said that commanding good and forbidding evil hasn't left any friends for anyone. Like, you lose friends by doing that, but that's the price of love. And that's why if you ask people, who are the people who are most constantly advising you and who are most willing to get on your back, who are they? Your parents. Why is it your parents? Because they're the ones whose love is the most sincere. They're the ones who are most willing to pay the price of love. Yeah.
I had a friend who was a very close friend of mine, and he was different because back then, I mean, I used to wear glasses since I think I was 7 or 6, something like that. And back then, they didn't have plastic lenses. They were all glass. So they were expensive to make. They took like 3 days to manufacture and cut and fit. And then any fall, and you just hear glass shatter everywhere. And there were times when I would fix my glasses, and the same day they would fall and just shatter. It was, so I would be without glasses, just wincing like this, trying to see things. And my friends would all just like, you're wincing, you broke your glasses, it's hilarious. And nobody cares. But I had one friend, and he would tell me, Kamal, we really have to fix your glasses. Let's go put them through right now. Let's go get them repaired. And I was like, this guy is different. Like, I've never had friends who cared. Like, oh, you broke your glasses? Ha ha. But this guy, you broke your glasses, let's go get them fixed. You know, this is not, you can't drive like this. But what's interesting is, just to prove that statement of Hassan al-Basri, rahimahullah, when, so our friendship and our connection was due to our mutual love of something. And then I started to take a different path, and I told him, I want our friendship to be for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that offended him so much. Even though he prayed 5 times a day regularly, he didn't do any haram. He just prayed, and Ramadan came. But it was so offensive to him that our friendship should be for the sake of Allah. And we parted ways religiously, really, and that was it. Like, he used to be at our house all the time, like to the point where my mother would say, hey, go get me some groceries and stuff like that. But with that statement, he couldn't take it. That would be friends for the sake of Allah. I don't think he even understood what it meant. But
I want to give also another perspective to the friendship. It's not only religious. Like, I like this example of the glasses. I lived with friends. We used to have one of my friends in college. His financial, and he was not very good. He's always broke. His car would not work. He would not drive his car just because he has money to put gas in. You don't know, guys, how many times I caught my friends putting money in his pocket while he's sleeping. I caught them. They will take, and they will not put any big amount because he will realize somebody put it. He'll put like $10, $5 in a book, you know. Oh, in the laundry. Is this yours? This is next to your short, or like your pants, or your shirt. You don't know how many times I caught them doing that. I still remember once we went camping. A friend of mine, his name's Khalid. It was super cold night. And there were a crack in the tent. Oh my God, the amount of air that go through that crack is super cold, and just run through that crack. So I wake up in the middle of the night, and I saw my friend Khalid had his jacket on, and he was blocking that crack with his back, just so we don't feel the cold. And another trip. These things would never go away from my memory. It was the opposite. So humid and so many mosquitoes. Wallahi, I saw my friend in the middle of the night. I wake up and I found that he took off his shirt and he slept shirtless. And I knew why did he do that. He wanted the mosquitoes to go to him and not to bother us. He never told anyone. If I would wake up, I wouldn't know that. I don't know what else he did. This is another level of brotherhood. And have you heard of Ibrahim al-Taymi? Ibrahim al-Taymi, he died in his 20s, rahimahullah. Min a'lam al-ulama al-tabi'een. Great tabi'i. You know why he died? They were looking for Ibrahim al-Nakhai. So the police came while Ibrahim hiding. Al-Hajjaj was looking for Ibrahim al-Nakhai. So Ibrahim al-Taymi had Ibrahim al-Nakhai inside. So the police came, they're looking for Ibrahim al-Nakhai. So the police, there's no ID, they don't know how he looked like, it was in the night. They said, where is Ibrahim? Then Ibrahim al-Taymi said, I'm Ibrahim that you're looking for. They took him and he gave a chance to the Nakhai to escape. When Al-Hajjaj heard about that, he said, let him rotten in jail. And he died in Sijil Yuqallahu Dimas. It was the well, you know the well? Dry well. There's no water in it. He dropped him inside and he kept him inside the well until he died. In his early 20s. Rahimahullah. Even his mother, when she came to visit him before he died, she couldn't recognize him from how he changed. This yani, brotherhood, and that's when you talk about yani, how close they are each other. Not sure if you guys ever experienced something like that.
I'm starting to feel my friends were.
That's like horrible, huh?
Need some better friends.
They are exist, and I think my point is, I don't think I'm, you know, there is examples like this. You know, yeah, I've seen in America people who cares about their friends so much. They support them financially. They do get out of their way. You know, I've seen also, like I just want to give an example, like a space for you guys. Otherwise, I have a lot of examples of if friendship is not only for deen, yeah, it's not only that the person give you advice in religion and tell you to pray, but he doesn't care about you. هذا فقير وهذا غني قال ليسوا بإخوان. Can't understand how can they be best friends and this is very poor and this guy is very rich. Hassan al-Basri said, I cannot comprehend that. They should not call themselves best friends. Because if they are best friends, it will not be like that.
He would help him.
Sheikh, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of gangsters and stuff. Yani, you know how they just, some of them don't turn on each other, don't rat, they go to jail for 10 years. We had this thing in Virginia, we had all kinds of things, but with the Muslim community was destroyed and they had young men arrested, Muslim men, and they have these techniques to put pressure on them so they can testify against each other. And these were some of our brothers that we knew well and everything. And they all turned on each other. This guy's testifying against this guy's testifying against even people he didn't know. Literally, they took him around the country and he would testify for the government against people he'd never met before. Lying. But at the same time, you guys heard of MS-13, right? That gang, right? MS-13 would be in the same courthouse. One of my friends, he said, you know, I finished this Muslim trial, I went to MS-13. And they're threatening these girls, and they're like, they would not rat out their gang members. I mean, I don't have an answer here, but it's just like, how are these?
Probably repercussions to their family.
Huh? Maybe. But some of them, it's in their blood. They don't want to turn on their gang member buddies, and then people turning on each other like that how deep does it go? You know, it goes deep for them, and that's why they don't turn on each other. And that's why when brotherhood is real, these things come naturally. When it's just for that's why with my friend I wanted to take it to the next level, because if it's just for, like I remember I was reading about this couple, they got married because of their love for hiking. They both loved hiking a lot. All they did was hike. And then the guy had an accident, he became paralyzed, he's on a wheelchair. Like I don't even need to finish the story, right? She pushed him around for a few weeks and then forget this guy, I'm hiking. They got divorced. That's all it was about. And that's why with this guy, I wanted to go to a stronger level and not just some love of video games, love of this or that.
Sheikh Ammar, one of them that I really don't have a very strong answer for it. But say, hey, be friend with good Muslim, with good people, with good akhlaq. طيب, a lot of time, people tell me, طيب, Sheikh, what about the bad ones? Be left for who? Many times I'm hanging with this guy. I know he's bad. I know he uses drugs. I know he's not the best Muslim. But I hang out because I want to guide him. I want to change him. Have you seen?
Yeah, that happens
You
a
and
lot.
Sheikh Kamal.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, but are you guiding them? So I always like to give the example of the swimmer. So if I see somebody struggling in the water and I'm a strong swimmer, I'm a certified lifeguard and all of that type of stuff, and I can jump in and pull them out, then I jump in and pull them out. If I don't know how to swim and I'm going to drown before they do, if I jump into the water, then I don't jump into the water. And so similarly, if I am the one who has a positive effect on that individual, then I engage them. If I'm the type that has the personality and they have the personality where if I'm in their company and I say it's time for salah, let's pray, and so they pray, or at the very least I pray and they don't obstruct me praying, and I'm the one who dictates what we can and can't do, and the circumstances of the gatherings or what have you, then I'm the one who's positively influencing them, in which case that's good. But if I'm the type and they're the type that they're the ones who dictate, or it's a group of them and they're the ones who dictate, and so when I go, I'm too shy to pray because nobody's praying, and they start consuming herbs or smoking herbs, and I don't say anything, I don't change anything, and in fact I might start with them, right? And that's that's a very negative effect, and so at that point isolation for you is better than to integrate with that type of a friendship.
Yeah, just to be clear, it doesn't have to be where you have like a full command over them, like, hey, namaz, jaldi karo, and you
Namaz.
prayer, and you rush people around, boss them around. Like I remember this thing from Sheikh bin Baz rahimahullah. He was asked by some students who live overseas, and they said, we have roommates who are not practicing, or sometimes even non-Muslim. Should we move and go to a dorm with righteous people? He said don't. Now of course, this is that condition that Sheikh Ammar mentioned, where you're not being influenced by them, but they are influenced by you. But the influence doesn't have to be where you're in complete control and command over them. He said, like, even if your presence they don't curse when you're there, then that's good enough. That's you decrease from their evil a little bit with your presence. He said, don't move on and go to another dorm. Stay with them because they need that. So the idea of just completely abandoning everyone and just we stay in cliques of righteous people, it's not even realistic, but it's a great point. Should have brought up.
How about can we say this? Friendship are levels. I might be a friend with someone who's not that religious or non-Muslim or whatever, but I will not allow someone to be too close to my heart, except someone who's righteous. Like, I don't ever think that we're saying, cut off anyone who's not religious or not practicing Muslim. I don't think that's what we're talking about here. We talk about, no, you still have that general friendship, but coming so close to someone, like this became your body, became your very, very, very close friend. That should be someone of good character trait, good Islam, good deen, because that person will influence it. But as a general kind of, friendship, I think you can have, people. That's why we have friends who are not Muslims even.
Yeah.
But question, and this is a good question to reflect, even from the crowd of people. Why Islam is so careful about not to bring so close to you a friend who's not a good, pious person? Why are, like some people ask me, why guys, what's wrong if I have non-Muslim friends? Okay, I said, there's nothing wrong with having non-Muslim. I have non-Muslim friends. But the one who comes so close to my heart, someone that like very close to me, like a direct influence to my heart and my soul, not even a Muslim. It has to be a pious person, a person of taqwa. That's why in that category, I can tell you in my life, after 50 years now, I can tell you, I can only count people on my one hand who I consider them that close to my heart, or two with my both hands. As I don't have too many friends in life. Like I became so close to them and allowed them to be so close to my soul, my heart. And that's personal. But maybe the question will be, why it is not a good idea to have a Muslim, or not, somebody not pious to be so close to as a friend? What are the influence? What do we worry about here?
There's a statement of the companion of Ibn Mas'ud that I think is superb. He used to say, "Ma min shay'in adallu ala shay." There is nothing that is more indicative of another. He says, even more than smoke is indicative of fire. Like when there's smoke, there's got to be fire somewhere. He says, even more than the connection of smoke and fire, he said, than a friend to a friend. Your friends will influence you in the end, all right? And either directly or indirectly. And so he was saying, like, your friend indicates who your friends are. Sometimes I'll meet parents who will say things like, my son, all his friends, they do drugs and they steal cars. Alhamdulillah, my son doesn't. Really? He just walks around with them, bas kida, while they smoke and steal cars? What is he exactly? He smokes and steals cars, I guarantee you 100%. In general, talking in general here. But because of that influence, because you will change. Did I tell you the cucumber analogy? Yeah, I did, right?
Sheikh, do you have something about this? I have a couple of points about it, actually.
About why? No, Sheikh, I'd like to hear from you.
So, I think, number one, he would never remind you. Yani if you missing salah, a bad friend or not pious person will never remind you, hey, by the way, this is, salah time comes. Even if you're around non-Muslim, they're not going to remind you, salah comes. You're not going to remind you of the rules. Hey, by the way, your hijab needs to be fixed. You're this. They're never going to tell you. Number two, one of the most interesting things about also bad friends is they might introduce you to things, haram, that you would never think about it yourself. They open the door for you. Three, that also they justify the haram for you and the wrong for you. So if you did something wrong, it's okay, it's not a big deal. Number four, and I think that's also very dangerous, fitna. It is can be very deceiving. Why? People, like for example, somebody's saying, I'm not going to do this because if you do it, you're going to be bad and this is going to happen to you, dude. But when you see a friend who's doing all these haram things, and you know what? I took off my hijab and I'm so happy person. I don't pray, I'm not Muslim anymore, I don't go to the masjid, and he is so happy person in their life. That became fitna to you. Said, oh, so all this talk that people will be depressed if they disobey Allah, there's a sin, if you do sin, Allah punish you in the dunya. Man, these guys are like having the life of their life. They're like having a very good time. It became fitna for you. And these, my opinion, are one of the main reasons why you should stay from bad company.
I actually have seen that question come a lot, where you have a person in university who asks the question and they say, I prayed my salah, I stayed away from everything haram in university, and I yet see the kids who participated in everything haram are graduating on time, and they're getting married, and they're doing all of these things that I, who actually practiced or tried to commit to the deen better than they did. And so it did become a fitna for them. It did become a fitna for them, and that did plays out. Sheikh, I just want to ask you one question here, because when you said a non-Muslim will never remind you for salah or something like that, I think that everybody who's had non-Muslim friends might have come across that non-Muslim friend who would remind you for salah, or who would, who's that type of a personality, very open-minded, very loving, so sometimes non-Muslim friends might actually be more, flexible with regards to your religious accommodation than many Muslims. And so what would you have as the comments for that?
I don't know how can a non-Muslim remind you of salah if he doesn't know when this salah is.
Sometimes they're so familiar with you, they're like, it's Dhuhr time right now, you need to go pray. There are non-Muslims like that.
It's true, and I'm familiar. But in the end, there are exceptions to the norm. That's not the rule, right?
Yeah, that's not the norm. That's very, yeah, I think the point that is fair to be made, you know, even if you have, because let me correct my state about, we're not talking about you should not have a bad people as friends. No. I'm saying you friends, your close friends, it's not enough to say there should not be a bad people or people bad character or bad, you know, or doing sins or fasaq or something. No, I'm talking about the people who you should be close friends to. They should be righteous, pious people, period. They should be a good, pious, righteous people with good character traits. Because sometimes it doesn't mean he's religious, somebody I want to hang out with. There's people who are so pious and taqwa, mashallah, but so boring. You know? It can be. I just don't click with the person. Yeah. I know a lot of people who absolutely have more knowledge than me, have very good taqwa, but I can't carry a conversation with them more than 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I have to go breathe. You know, I just can't click with them. You know, we just don't click.
No pun intended, click.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, but yani, just don't misunderstand. I'm saying, for the non-Muslims, I agree. He has to have any friend in general has to be a good character.
Two things. Number one, those friends, give them da'wah for the sake of Allah, please, yani. You know, people
Very
come
good.
to me.
Very good point.
You know, people come to me at the end of the da'wah class. This happens all the time. Different cities. Someone will come up to me. There's this girl. This is a girl, by the way, talking. There's a girl. We grew up together. She was my best friend. Ma'arif. Now I started practicing hijab, and I don't want to call her to Islam because it'll make the relationship awkward. So I'll tell her, okay, let me say back to you what you just said to me. There's this girl. She's a wonderful person, and I love her, and I would love for her to go to Jannah. But because I don't want our relationship to get weird, I would rather she burns in hell in eternity, for all eternity. If you really care, call them to Islam. You know, people calling you, reminding you of Salah, you should really call them to Allah Azza wa Jalla, these people. The other thing is, Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anhu, he used to have this, he used to advise people, he used to have the statement, he would tell people, make sure your friends are righteous. Because if they're not righteous, they'll be your enemies on the Day of Judgment. And then he used to recite the verse, Al-akhillau yawma'idhin ba'duhum li ba'din adu illa al-muttaqin. He would say the akhillau, which means they're very close friends here, very close companions. On the Day of Judgment, they'll be enemies to one another. They'll be hating each other, cursing each other, making dua against each other in the hellfire, wal-'adhu billah. And there's, you're the one who kept me away from Allah, you're the one who kept me, you're the one who introduced me to this. Illa al-muttaqin, except for the righteous, which is so beautiful that the friendships and the bonds of the righteous people will continue in this world and in the next world. While those who are friends here because of whatever, in the next world they'll be enemies and they'll hate each other more than anyone else.
Yeah. I want to switch to something yani, a little bit different. When we talk about friendship, I can guarantee you, most of the time we think about youth, young girls and young boys, about friendship. That's right, we think about our kids. But it's so sad, as we grow older, we lose our friends. And that's very sad. I notice, I see so many elders, like 30s, 40s, after they became in their jobs and stuff like that, they don't have friends anymore. I'm married. Okay, acquiring a spouse does not replace a friend. And one of the biggest mistakes some husbands do, cut his wife from her friends. And it's a terrible mistake. Some wife, she wants to cut her husband from his friends. I'm your friend. Okay. But doesn't mean I don't have other friends, you know? You're my spouse. But still, friendship will never be replaced by parents, by spouse. Friendship is a very important element in our social life. Would you agree with me, Chef?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have any comment on that? Do you agree with my observation?
I agree. We used to see this all the time. Okay, so, I mean, and it also kind of ruined what I was going to close with. I was going to say that your real best friend is your wife. But mostly because my wife is here, I had to say that. But I'll tell you the truth, when I was in Virginia, a lot of our friends, that group that was destroyed by the government, they turned on each other and no one contacted anyone, no one visited anyone, but their wives were always there for them. So I always tell them like how you'll mistreat your real best friend to be with the other friend. But let's balance it out here. When we were in Calgary, we would get together, the guys, and we were almost all married, right? We'd get together and we'd have fun. We'd do fun things. And here when I lived in Lake City, some of the brothers, they know what I'm talking about. I know who they are. Allah knows who they are. The point is, we used to meet. We used to have fun. And the wives would get all upset and bitter and stuff. Why y'all having fun with your friends? I don't know why the wives became black. But the point is that they just all had these I'm like, you guys go hang out with your friends. What's the problem? Like a guy hangs out, khalas.
I've learned from some brothers, like when their wife calls, they literally have to shush everybody to pretend like we're not having fun.
That they're not having fun. Don't laugh.
Having fun. They're like, nobody laugh. Yes. And he has to put on like the saddest tone in the world when he's talking to his wife. Yes, sorry.
So in short, we're saying, sisters, get together, have fun, give your husband a breeze.
Have friends.
Have friends.
Have life. Okay.
But Sheikh, for me, it's like when I look at the elder generation, I saw them as having way more friends than actually young people. Like the amount of time and people coming over to the house and functions and social functions and things of that nature, I didn't see elders as necessarily having less friends when they grew up. Or are you talking about like a particular age range?
I don't want to embarrass anyone, but I can guarantee you from everybody in this room, if I ask people who are, 45 and up, how many really, really close friends that you have, I'll tell you, majority would say zero.
I agree. It's pretty bad.
Zero? Oh my
It's
goodness.
pretty bad.
I have zero friends.
Yeah.
Like someone like, I'm completely consumed. And in sister side, the friends disappeared in younger age. Much, much younger than men. They lose their friends. I don't know what it is. A lot of people think family replace friends. That's just wrong. Family do not replace you. There is a need inside you for something called ukhuwa, sadaqa. SubhanAllah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to send Aisha her friends to spend time with her. And he wants his wife to have friends. It's a good thing to have friends. And believe me, if you have a good friend, don't ever, ever let that friendship go away.
Sheikh, one of the things that I really feel like is attacking friendship now, particularly over the past 10 years, is our obsession, just modernity in general, our obsession with our own convenience. And so everything is about what facilitates convenience for me. It affects my relationships with my spouse, it affects my relationships with every interaction, really, is about my own convenience. That's why, for example, when someone calls you out of the blue, how do you react to a phone call? Phone call is inconvenient now. Nobody wants to answer a phone call. It's like, who is this person that's daring to interrupt my day and demanding that I speak to them at their beck and call? Like, text me, send me a text message. And so it's much more convenient for me to just follow somebody on social media. It's much more convenient for me to just like and share and do these types of things than for me to actually, like one sister, I was asking, this was before the pandemic.
So friends on Facebook versus friends in...
Yeah, so I just wanted to, on the topic of just embracing that which is like burdensome and difficult, because that's part of a depth of relationship. So I had asked, even before the pandemic, was asking people, like, when was the last time you had somebody over at your house? Like, do people still do that? I guarantee most of us who are, we had that experience of our parents having people over at the house all the time when you're talking about just growing up for those of us who are over 30. And now, it's almost like we prefer to meet each other at a restaurant than to necessarily invite somebody over. And one sister gave me like the quote of the year back then, and she said, yes, because when I meet somebody at Starbucks, I can leave them at Starbucks. And so the idea is that we can create that separation. it's inconvenient to host people. That is an added layer of vulnerability when you're hosting a guest. They can come and they can be intrusive and they can overstay their welcome and they can see things that they don't necessarily need to see. But when doing so, you've added another element of your relationship with that individual. When I go over to somebody's house, it's not like when I meet them at a restaurant. I meet their autistic brother, I meet their parents, I get an idea of their financial situation for me to even, I see the broken down car in front of the house. Like, you have that added layer of relationship that we don't seem to have when we opt out for these very convenient, superficial relationships. And the expense, the cost of that is, of course, depth. And anybody who isn't willing to pay the cost of depth will get loneliness for free. And that's what we're experiencing.
Aywa. So go ahead.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that my mahabba has been obligated for those who visit each other for my sake. This notion of visiting each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's very, very powerful.
I was listening to someone commenting about how in the old days when someone rang the bell, you'd be so excited that you have guests, and now when someone rings the bell, and a lot of families do this, someone rings the bell, everyone down. No. Kids run to the door, don't open it. Come back here. And you have this secret window where you can open it and see them without them seeing you.
Well, now they just see it through the app. You just see it through
Or they have Ring now.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Bas khalas, go away. Like, everyone's there coming to kill you now. I had Ring for a while. My landlord kept Ring on the door. And I'm like, these people, are they like paranoid or insane? When you get on Ring and see the comments, this suspicious person dropped a package. Yeah, it said Amazon Prime on the truck. Everyone's out to kill you. And they don't want anyone at the door and kick everyone away. We changed a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah. I want to also say something in relation to, as we talk about friendship, how somebody's so close to you. This very, very special relationship cannot be seen between a man and a woman who are not related to each other. So that idea for me to have my best friend as a boy, and I'm not related, mahram to me, not related to me. My best friend is a sister, is a girl, who's not mahram to me. It cannot. That closeness of relationship means we spend time together. We're so close to each other. We're so relaxed with each other. That's not how the relationship between men and women are not related to each other in Islam. I have, in a general sense, that's why, subhanAllah, I always like to say, to define my relationship with women who are not related to me, I don't like to use the word friend. Even though technically she is a friend, but I like to use the word sister. Because the moment I look at her brother and sisters, I frame the relationship in a completely different image. She's like my sister. I show the respect, the love, the care, like the way I treat my sister, the way I look at him like my brother. We're not just friends hang out together and we like all relax and lower our guards. That's dangerous. There is a lot of these YouTube videos and interviews, can men and women be friends? If you look at these, and you would find, like non-Muslim universities, high school, yes, all kind of yeses. Then the same person goes in the second round, he said, do you think that guy who you like your friend, he likes you? Like, if you give him a chance, would he make a move on you? Yes. So it's not just friends. I guess yes. And all of them said the same thing. That's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that a man and woman alone, the shaitan will be the third one. And we should not be relaxed with this issue. This is a door can lead to all kind of problems in the future. And there is nobody can say, I'm perfect. I don't have any feelings. I don't have any materiation. It doesn't matter, feeling or no feeling. What's not right, is not right. I don't know. I would like
and people always, it's interesting how we know this to be the case, but we still kind of delude ourselves and we say, well, I don't have any feelings for them. haven't you seen 1,000,000 times over feelings grow over time? Like, haven't you seen that happen since second grade? Like, this has always been the case, is that something, if you give it oxygen, and if you give it sunlight, and if you give it water, it can grow. And we've seen that whether it's on TV shows by season 1 to season 5, all of a sudden those two who hated each other, or you're in real life, you see people grow feelings for each other. One of the interesting things, even with regards to Muslims, just to show you like how truthful it is, even though we may pretend otherwise, is you'll have like the Muslim kids at a university. And I've seen this happen where sisters will complain and they'll say, you know, subhanAllah, this brother, he always used to be our friend. He was part of the group and stuff like that. And then the brother got married. And how did his interactions with those girls become? Zero, zilch, pretends like he doesn't even see them. When he's walking down the street with his wife and he sees that group of sisters, there's no salams with 3 Z's, there's no waves, there's nothing. He just looks down and walks right by them and ignores them. If it was so platonic and pure and all of that type of stuff, why did it change after he got married, right? So it's just, these are obvious signs.
I've never ever believed this idea that men and women can be friends. Or I always tell people it's like a gazelle hanging out with lions. And it's telling the other gazelles, we're just friends. Nothing's going to happen. Just wait. There's just no way. It's just unnatural. And I've met people who had, like, from work and places like that, who'd have a guy friend, and they're such close friends that they will insist to their future husband that he has to accept her guy friend. And then they'll admit that he once proposed to me. Maybe you see it that way, but he doesn't see it that way, because he's a lion, you're a gazelle. It's never going to work out. And people now...
To be just honest also, when we say that, doesn't mean there is 0%, but it's the overwhelming number. Like, you cannot take 1%, 2% examples and you make a rule out of it. Because I'm 100% sure that there is people, co-workers and people who are at work, and they have a general sense of friendship, and they do not hate each other, they don't think about each other, you know, and things going, you know. But that's just a very small circle. You cannot make a general rule out of it.
Yep.
Would that be fair, Sheikh?
Yeah, and I always tell people, like, if that hadith that you mentioned, Sheikh, of the shaitan being the third one, it's like, if I tell you there are 3 rooms. The first room you open, and let's say you have special glasses, you can see the shayateen, okay? You open the first door, it's a guy talking to a guy. Looks normal. You open the second door, a woman talking to another woman. Looks normal. You open the third door, it's a guy talking to a girl, but because of your glasses, you can see the shaitan sitting amongst them like this. Would you say, oh, that's normal, close the door? Like, if you could see the shaitan as your third, would you think this is normal, this is okay? You know, you go to the store to get, would you like a drink, Iblis? You wouldn't think it's normal. But people argue like that.
And what that means, the shaitan is the third one. It means that the shaitan there because he knows that this is a very vulnerable situation. It doesn't mean 100% he will get you, but you have to be smart. You don't put yourself too close to the red line. I'm not saying everybody crossed the red line. We've been in a situation, all of us, me and a woman alone in one place, you know, in store and in office.
Elevator.
Whatever, you know, situation. Yes, but you just be careful. You don't lower your guards. I think that's a very important message. You just don't just take it easy. It is dangerous. That's how I always have that alert. I don't just lower my guard.
And it's not about not trusting yourself or not trusting the other person, but it's about not trusting shaitan. It's important.
A common mistake is people think that it's only haram if something haram happens. Well, this guy came to me, he said, we were studying for a med school exam, me and a female co-worker or classmate. He said, we studied until 3 a.m. and he said, neither one of us even thought of doing anything haram. So nothing haram happened, so why is it haram? So Habibi, it's not haram if something happens as a result of you being alone in the room. You being alone in the room itself is not permissible. You know, some people think that, oh, nothing happened. Oh, something always happens, yani? Sometimes it's not possible for things to happen. But it's still not acceptable to be in that position.
Sheikh, sometimes people say, my friends change. I lost my friendship with someone. I have something to say to those people who says that. If you lost a friend and he changed or she changed on you, one of the first things you need to do is, maybe this is a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for you to check if you have done something wrong in your life. Ajib, what's the connection? The connection is interesting. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, there is no one who will lose a friend unless this is the result of a sin that that person committed. The people who used to praise you and like you, they turn against you, it is due to sins that you have committed. Al-Hasan al-Basri said, إِنِّي لَأَعْرِفُ أَثَرَ الذَّنْبِ فِي خُلُقِ صَاحِبِي. When I commit a sin, I immediately realize the impact of my sins on the way my friends treat me. Sufyan al-Thawri said, also the great Imam al-Tabi'in, he said that friendship is lost due to sins. يقول كم من الصحبة والأواصل قطعت بالذنوب. So one of the things that you should be careful of, you find someone like completely very close and turn against you, something that to call you to review, to go back and to check your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's one. The second point that I have, and I'll let somebody else want to point out something. Sometimes people change because the relationship became a burden. And I'm sorry to say that. Some people, like, the relationship with you became a burden in a sense that there's too much pressure on you. Every time you talk to them, they complain. Every time you talk to them, you have to be careful how to talk to them. They became so sensitive. You know, I have to watch everything I say. I have to do this. And that leads, you know what, nobody likes to stay in a relationship like that. So you know what, just take it easy on your friends. And be easygoing with your friends. Because if you're not, it's very easy for them to go away from you. Yeah.
Sometimes you're the one who changes, and I think part of that is, I think with regards to the friends that you have, it should be contingent, dependent on what your goals are for yourself. You have to know yourself what you're looking to accomplish. And based on that, you're going in that direction, you'll have friends according to that. So one of my favorite stories of the Sahaba and their friends is actually of a person who left a friend. And that's Abdullah ibn Abbas. Abdullah ibn Abbas is a teenager. Prophet ﷺ dies. He's really young. He has the goal of, he realizes, even in his young age, that the Prophet ﷺ has died. And so many of the senior companions are around his age. So it's the best time for him to actually go and learn from them. And so he tells one of his friends from the Ansar, also another teenager, and he says, why don't we go and learn from the companions about the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Let's go study with them now. Take advantage of them while they're still here. And so his friend says to him, do you think anybody's going to care about what you know, Ibn Abbas? Do you think anybody cares about what you know? You're like 14 years old. You think, oh, you're trying to be a big sheikh? You're trying to be, who cares about what you know? And so Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says, فَتَرَكْتُ. So I stopped hanging out with him. I left him alone. And he walked down his path, and he went towards his goal, day in and day out. He followed his ambition. He dropped that friend until he became the scholar of scholars that Abdullah ibn Abbas ended up becoming. And so sometimes your friends won't see your goals with you, whether that's in school or whether that's in life or whether that's in deen or what have you, and you have to be willing, if you have the vision for yourself, you have to be willing to lighten your load if they're weighing you down.
And sometimes just, I mean, yes, I always used to tell people that if you have these friends that are negative and they drop them, and sometimes you don't always have to drop them, sometimes you can just keep them in that area that they're good at. But you will have that friend who will tell you why something won't work. You have a business idea, he will tell you exactly why it won't work.
You know what I call them?
Aywa?
Electrons.
Electrons?
They're always negative.
Let me tell you something. Any fool can tell you why something won't work. But it takes a genius to tell you how it can work.
Yes, salam.
I don't need you to tell me why it will fail. I'm hesitant because I'm afraid it will fail. I need a genius to tell me how to make it work. That's one thing. The second thing, I have to comment on what Sheikh Waleed said about the sins. That's beautiful. I remember I was listening to a story recently. One of the great scholars, some calamity happened to him, and it was really bad. And he said, I know exactly why this happened to me. 10 years ago or something like that, there was a person, and I said this to them. And Allah is doing this to me now because of what I did to that person. So then the Sheikh commented, he said, look at these people, and look first of all how few their sins were, that they can pinpoint which one they think caused it. That's one. Number two, how they blamed their sins and their actions for the calamities that befell them. And then he said something so true. He said, today, we never do that. We have so many sins, but something bad happens. This is sihr, this is ain, this is my mother-in-law. Mother-in-law? How about you look at yourself first? That's really powerful. We're always looking outside to what caused it. Others.
Yeah, I think we will stop here because it's 4 minutes after the comment time. But I can't leave the topic of friendship without reminding us. Maybe you can ask yourself this question. And, it would be nice if we can take a hands, but I'm not going to embarrass anybody. When I read Imam Ahmed rahimahullah, never in his salah missed to pray for his friend Shafi'i. He's a friend and like a sheikh. He always made dua for him. And he made dua for another person who became a friend with in jail. Abu al-Haytham. In jail they became friends. He made dua for him. All his life. أبو الدرداء يقول إني لأدعو ل70 من أصحابي بأسمائهم في كل وتر. I pray for 70 people by names in every witr prayer. By names. We all claim that we have friends. The question is, do you pray for them by names in your salah? That's test. Abdullah, when the last time that you make dua for me? By name. Allah يفكنا منك شيخ وليد. حبيبي. See, that's a true friend. See, the point, this is powerful, by the way, just to think about it this way, to make dua for people by name. That means those people are close to you. يعني الإمام أحمد يقول إذا كنت تبخل على صاحبك بالدعاء ما يتصور منك أي شيء آخر. If you're stingy with your dua, you think you will be generous with your money?
It reminds me of Umrah, when people are going to Umrah or Hajj and they send you a Google Doc. They're like, if you want me to make dua for you, fill out this Google Doc. It used to make me so mad. It's like, I know I'm not going to fill out a Google Doc for you to make dua for me. If you need me to fill out a form.
We will pray, and after prayer, I'll tell you something that's interesting. Somebody, I was sharing the story of the Salaf used to say, Hassan Basri and others, قال, do you put your hands in your brother's pocket and you take whatever money you want? He said, no. He said, so you're not brothers. Okay? You're not brothers. So somebody sent me a note, and he said, Sheikh, I want your wallet. And he's like, at this gathering, somebody will stand up, Sayyid will say, Sheikh Waleed, can I get your wallet? Because of that, I didn't bring it with me.
I thought you were going to say, here's my wallet.
But somebody, you're so nice, Sheikh.
No, I thought that's what he was going to say.
He's so nice. This person, when he asked me, can I have your wallet? What Sheikh Kamal you think I said? Well, knowing me all this years.
Wallahi, there was some prank involved. That's what I think.
Do you think I care enough about the dunya to have a wallet?
It's so nice, Sheikh. I said, you don't deserve it. I said, you don't deserve my wallet. What make you think you deserve my wallet? What do you think yourself make you think that you deserve to even ask this question to me and to tell me that can I have your wallet and take whatever I want? What did you do to earn that relationship? If Sheikh Kamal asked me, I will give it to him. He earned it. Sheikh Ibrahim asked me, I will give it to him. And I mean that.
Tim
But
Jamila.
somebody just from outside kida come and tell you that? No. And I think that's an important lesson to learn. That friendship is earned. It's just not for granted. Something that you have to work on it to make it something that you earn it and to value.
Don't assume you have it. Don't assume you're at that level. There was this guy who used to live near us, and he would just walk into our apartment because he thought we were very close friends. I couldn't stand him. He would just open the door, walk in, open the fridge, take things, and I don't know you that well, and I don't really like you. But this is very embarrassing. So before you assume that, make sure it is at that level. Allahu Akbar.